No vindication for me, because for 4 years, I've been screaming, not just Diddy, but Diddy and Jay-Z are monsters. And the victim-making machine kept going on.
Jay-Z has been notable by his silence since these charges were brought against Diddy. Why do you think that is?
Because that's what he does. He starts little fires everywhere, forces everyone involved to go and carry water while he sneaks away out a response.
Worst celebrity like that you've been around is like the most full of sin. I know no sin is greater, but like just was like, damn, this
Clive Davis.
Whoa.
Devil incarnate. Clive Davis. He Janis Joplin. He blackmailed Betty Wright so she wouldn't tell anybody that he Janis Joplin. He killed Whitney Houston.
Jaguar Wright just cracked the door wide open on what 50 Cent allegedly left out of the Diddy documentary. And according to her, what got cut is way heavier than anything Netflix showed. She's calling out unseen footage, pointing at missing names, and questioning what 50's real play might be, while the internet goes absolutely wild. You didn't click this by mistake. You clicked because you heard Jaguar Wright is going full pressure on 50 Cent's Diddy documentary, and people are locked in for a reason. While most viewers are focused on what made it into Sean Combs' The Reckoning, Jaguar is shining a bright light on what she says was quietly brushed aside. And according to her, this stuff wasn't removed because it was boring or weak. Jaguar claims what didn't make the final edit was labeled too risky, too sensitive, and way too uncomfortable for mainstream audiences. That alone should make anyone stop and think. Here's what we're breaking down today. First, the footage Jaguar says Netflix refused to air. Second, why major industry power players like Jay-Z and Clive Davis barely show up at all. Third, what 50 Cent may actually be trying to gain from this entire rollout. And finally, the names and material Jaguar says she's now putting out publicly.
Was interesting to watch, you don't think? Kalima's testimony? She was probably the most pitiful witness they brought up to speak about all of this in the entire thing. Kalima?
Wait, why you say that? She was emotional. She was...
Emotional? That's what you call it?
That's what I'm trying to call it.
Capricorn Clark was emotional. I'll give her emotion. I'm sitting there looking at someone, in my opinion, who appears to be struggling with a substance issue, trying not to fall apart on camera. Meanwhile, nobody paying attention to the fact that she's sitting there afraid to really say anything at all because she's...
This isn't just about one documentary or one celebrity moment. This goes deeper into decades of music industry behavior, power moves, and silence finally getting challenged. And let's keep it real. There are powerful people who never wanted this conversation happening. So stay locked in, because once you hear this, it might completely flip how you see this situation. But before we get into what Jaguar claims was leaked, you need to understand what's been happening behind the scenes these past few weeks. 50 Cent reportedly spent nearly 2 years working on this 4-part Netflix series. It follows Sean Combs from his early days in Harlem through the rise of bad boy entertainment all the way to his recent legal downfall, laid out in a dramatic timeline. We're talking serious access here. The series includes rare footage of Diddy speaking with his legal team shortly before his arrest. There are interviews with former associates, industry insiders, and even discussions involving people connected to the legal process. That kind of access is almost unheard of. But here's where things get real interesting, and this part matters. Not everyone who was expected to appear actually made the final cut. Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard and someone many believe has first-hand knowledge of major moments, was removed after disputes over money and creative control. And Jaguar Wright? Her material was reportedly labeled too controversial for Netflix. Let that sink in.
About that, look at what happened from that. See, and this is why this documentary is I'm not calling it a documentary, I'm calling it a mockumentary. That's what I call it.
No, not Spinal Tap.
I call it a mockumentary. I feel like this whole thing is mocking me. That's how I feel it. It's wild.
But go ahead.
Was there anything at all that you were watching this documentary that was new information to you?
New?
Yes.
No,
From the history of Puff, him coming up, anything new?
no. There was nothing new for me. There was nothing new for me. The only thing that was new was what was coming forward that had never come forward before. Kirk Burroughs finally admitting out loud that he had been essayed.
Too controversial for a documentary built around serious allegations and convictions. So now the real question hits hard. If this was supposed to be the full reckoning, why does it feel like we're only being shown part of the picture? Why were certain voices pushed out? And what story are we not being allowed to hear? That's exactly what we're here to break down. Let's get straight into what Jaguar Wright actually said and why the reaction has been so intense, because she did not hold back at all. Jaguar openly called this project a mockumentary, not a real documentary, saying it straight up insults the viewer's intelligence. According to Jaguar, nearly 80% of what's shown across the 4 episodes is information she's already been speaking on publicly for years. She even said, "I feel like this whole thing is mocking me," and that single line had people talking everywhere. Now, some might think she's just upset about not being included, but slow down, because once you hear what she says was left out, it starts hitting different. From her perspective, this isn't about attention or ego. She says it's about the truth being softened to protect certain powerful people. And this is where things start looking real questionable, at least according to Jaguar. She points out that several major industry figures barely appear in the documentary, and some are missing completely. Jay-Z, for example, is mentioned briefly, maybe once or twice, and that's it. Stevie J, who worked closely with Diddy for years and was reportedly present during key moments, is almost completely removed despite his long history in that circle. Then there's Clive Davis. Jaguar points out that he owned a majority stake in Bad Boy Records, which would normally make him a central figure. Yet in a 4-part series, he reportedly gets less than a minute of screen time. When asked who the worst celebrity she's ever been around, Jaguar didn't hesitate and named Clive Davis, using very strong language to describe her personal experience. She also made serious claims tying him to broader industry power issues. Now, to be clear, these are Jaguar's opinions and allegations, not confirmed facts. But what has people raising eyebrows is how little attention someone with that level of influence received in a documentary marketed as accountability-focused.
I want to put her on blast because she was telling me, she was saying to me that what I was asking for was crazy and they wasn't spending money like that. I'm talking about you got footage, you got clothing, I was doing footage, I had pictures, all the stuff that I had, you could figure out a way to pay a brother and stuff like that. And then I was telling her about some prices that I've already received and I had the invoices to show it. And then she was calling me like I was lying. I'm like, yo, who do you think you talking to? You know what I'm saying? And she was talking about, there's no way nobody paid. Nobody what? I say, first of all you people come with these documentaries and stuff, the first thing you tell me, y'all tell these people out here that y'all don't pay, and y'all pay. If you can make a picture look like $10,000, $15,000, you know what I'm saying? You can sit here and tell me that you're gonna pay me for my time sitting right down here with y'all. You understand? So then, one thing led to another, and I was like, all right, well then, F you, I spoke to 50, and then she said 50, and this is exact words that came out her mouth. 50 does not determine what goes in and goes out of this document.
Yeah, he was there for so much of it. Because right after the Diddler beat the crap out of Steve Stout, the Jigga Man poked up on Rivera. Not long after that. All of this stuff happened around the same time.
Why do you think Jay-Z wasn't involved in none of this?
Well, I mean, he was involved in a lot of it. You mean, why wasn't he mentioned?
Yeah, mentioned in the documentary at all.
I mean, there was a lot of people that weren't mentioned. Matter of fact, not too many people in the industry were mentioned who were there and present. Isn't that cute?
Very true.
They found a way to tell that story. Wow.
According to Jaguar, addressing Clive Davis head-on would mean exposing the full power structure behind Bad Boy and the music industry as a whole. And she believes that's a conversation certain people would rather keep buried. Let's talk about Kim Porter for a moment, because this is one part Jaguar says really didn't sit right with her at all. Out of everything in the documentary, this section hit a nerve. From Jaguar's perspective, Kim Porter wasn't represented the way she deserved to be. Kim, the mother of Diddy's children, passed away in 2018, and Jaguar believes her voice should have been front and center in the story. Instead, Jaguar says Kim's story was mostly told through other people, without a deep dive into who she really was or what she may have experienced. One of the main voices used was Kaleena Harper, a former artist connected to Diddy. Jaguar watched Kaleena's interview and described it as difficult to watch, not because she thought Kaleena was lying, but because she believes Kaleena was holding back. And Jaguar says she understands why. At the time filming was happening, Kaleena was reportedly dealing with an active custody situation involving her children. Jaguar points out that speaking freely on camera during something like that can be risky because anything said publicly can later be used in court. Jaguar adds another layer to it, saying Kaleena's husband was closely connected to Diddy's inner circle, which made everything even more complicated. From Jaguar's perspective, Kaleena was stuck in a tight position trying to protect herself, her family, and her future. Jaguar tells people to really think about that situation. Being asked to talk on camera about sensitive experiences while fighting a legal battle at home isn't simple at all.
I get to Bieber for a minute, and his management was backing him off. But it wasn't until Usher took over management and had guardianship and gave temporary guardianship to the diddler for 48 hours. Think about that. He had already been to the hospital. That situation that Gene was talking about. And you still took Bieber there, but you got custody.
It's easy to see why someone would choose their words carefully under that kind of pressure. Jaguar also claims Kaleena was around during the time filming was happening at the Star Island house, a location that keeps coming up in connection with alleged incidents. Yet Kaleena said she didn't witness anything unusual taking place. At the same time, Stevie J, who Jaguar says was living at that same house during key moments, isn't featured in the documentary at all, not even mentioned. Jaguar believes that wasn't random. She says it was a deliberate choice. Now let's shift to Gene Deal, because his situation explains a lot about what was happening behind the scenes. Gene served as Diddy's bodyguard for years and was present for major moments, both business-related and personal. Gene was expected to be a major voice in the documentary, and according to him, 50 Cent personally reached out about getting him involved. But things changed after a phone call with director Alex Stapleton. Gene says that conversation felt disrespectful and made it clear that creative control and pay weren't open for discussion. He also felt the compensation didn't match the value of his experience or the footage he could provide. So Gene walked away. And when you hear it laid out like that, it's not hard to understand why he made that call. Clyde Day and Gene Deal have both said the documentary skipped over some serious tragedies. One name Gene keeps bringing up is Anthony Wolf Jones. Wolf was Diddy's former bodyguard and a close associate who was killed, yet his story barely gets addressed, if at all. According to Gene, the production team claimed they didn't have enough verified information to fully tell Wolf's story. But this is where things start feeling off, at least from Jaguar's point of view. Jaguar doesn't believe it was about missing details at all. From her perspective, telling stories like Wolf's would open too many doors, too many questions, too many connections, and most importantly, it would pull powerful people into the spotlight and force uncomfortable conversations.
Industry figures are barely present in the documentary.
What are your thoughts as far as how they portrayed Kim Porter with this Reckoning documentary?
They didn't portray her at all.
Yeah, they didn't.
That's the thing. They didn't portray her at all. She was spoken for by Kaleena. That was interesting to watch. You don't think? Kaleena's testimony? She was probably the most pitiful witness they brought up to speak about all of this in the entire thing. Kaleena?
Wait, why you say that? She was emotional. She was
Emotional? That's what you call it?
that's what I'm trying to call it.
Capricorn Clark was emotional. I'll give her emotion. I'm sitting there looking at someone, in my opinion, who appears to be struggling with a substance issue, trying not to fall apart on camera. Meanwhile, nobody paying attention to the fact that she's sitting there afraid to really say anything at all because she's in the middle of a custody battle and she's trying to get her kids back. And she's got to be careful of whatever she says because it could make it impossible for her to get her kids back. Did nobody pay attention to that?
Yeah, no, she said she wanted $5K from Diddy. And
she wanted $5K from her former bandmate and a billionaire. And he wouldn't even give her $5K to help her get her kids back? Why not? But then again, nobody's talking about who her husband is and who her husband is to Diddy. He's one of Diddy's #1 minions.
oh yeah, no, that's news.
He's a loyalist. He is a Diddy doo-wop-bop. Kalina's also bisexual, so I'm finding it kind of interesting that she didn't see anything, she wasn't around anything, she didn't know about anything, and this is not me putting anything crazy on her. This is exactly what she said when she was on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta with Stevie J, who was also not mentioned at all during this documentary. Because Stevie J was living at the Star Island house. Tell me something, how do you have all of that stuff about Little Rod and there's no Stevie J? Now, it was really interesting because there was some of the footage that Little Rod has shared with this documentary that he shared with nobody else that he did an interview with, and none of that made it into the trial. There's images of him with French Montana and the Diddler on the yacht.
Yeah.
But nothing of Stevie J.
That's something Jaguar believes certain figures wanted to avoid at all costs. And this leads to the bigger picture because this goes way beyond one documentary edit. This is about who gets protected and who gets erased. People also remember when Jaguar appeared on Piers Morgan's show and openly criticized Jay-Z and Diddy on live television. That clip went viral fast. Everyone was sharing it, reacting to it, and debating it everywhere. Then something strange happened. The video disappeared just one day later, taken down, removed. That's not normal, especially when the clip comes from a major media platform with millions of viewers. Think about that for a second. Piers Morgan is a global media figure, yet the clip vanished within 24 hours. Jaguar believes that alone shows how much influence certain people may have behind the scenes. According to her, that kind of power can shape documentaries, steer networks, and limit what the public gets to see. Even large platforms and production companies aren't immune to that pressure. Now here's the part Jaguar says makes people uncomfortable, but she insists it needs to be discussed carefully and responsibly. Jaguar claims footage involving Justin Bieber and Diddy was cut from the documentary. She stresses this is not about wrongdoing, but about boundaries and protection. According to Jaguar, Bieber's management allegedly kept distance between him and Diddy because they felt something wasn't right at the time. From her point of view, they stepped in early and did what they believed was best to keep him safe. Those claims, whether proven or not, raise serious questions about what footage never sees the light of day and why. Then Jaguar brings up Usher, and this is where people really stop and listen. According to her, Usher, who has a complicated history with Diddy, allegedly allowed Diddy temporary guardianship of Justin Bieber for 48 hours. 48 hours while Bieber was still a teenager at the time. Jaguar points out this happened after Bieber had already been hospitalized for health-related reasons. She doesn't go into medical details, but she says Gene Deal has spoken about that period in past interviews. From Jaguar's perspective, this raises serious questions. She asks what many people are already thinking. Does that sound like protecting a young artist? Does that sound like responsible decision-making, given what's been alleged since? Jaguar claims footage connected to this supposedly exists, but it never made it into the Netflix documentary. According to her, including it would have opened an entirely new line of questions involving other major celebrities. She believes names like Usher and Bieber were shielded, possibly through legal pressure or private agreements, because that story would have flipped the entire narrative. And this is where Jaguar's frustration really boils over. She doesn't believe 50 Cent created this documentary with pure intentions. In her view, this wasn't about justice or truth, it was about positioning. Jaguar claims 50 Cent isn't trying to expose wrongdoing to help people affected. She believes he wants to push figures like Diddy and Jay-Z out of the way so he can control the industry himself. In her words, he doesn't want to fix the system, he wants to run it. That's a strong accusation. and Jaguar fully stands on it. She reminds people that 50 Cent has been publicly clashing with Diddy for over 20 years, trolling, joking online, and keeping that rivalry alive. So when accountability suddenly becomes the headline, Jaguar says she's not convinced at all. And she didn't stop there. She went further and warned she could expose 50 Cent over alleged environmental issues tied to property connected to his studio operations in Shreveport. She made it clear she was speaking in terms of allegations and claims, saying she believes she has information to back it up. Her message to 50 Cent was straight to the point. Do right by Shreveport, or she says she'll speak publicly. She even said, everybody knows Diddy isn't the only one with secrets. And that line landed like a warning shot. And here's what really has Jaguar heated. She says she's been talking about Sean Combs and his behavior for years. When asked what she witnessed at his parties, she didn't dress it up at all, describing the environment as money-driven, chaotic, and unhealthy. From her perspective, the real issue isn't shock or surprise, it's the silence that followed for so long. Jaguar says she wasn't surprised when reports started coming out about cameras inside Diddy's homes. She also says allegations involving Cassie and claims about pressure and discomfort didn't shock her either. According to Jaguar, she's been speaking on this loudly and publicly for years. But back then, nobody wanted to hear it. People brushed her off. They called her unstable. They accused her of chasing attention and painted her as a bitter former artist with an agenda. The message was simple: ignore her and keep it moving. Now fast forward to today. With serious legal outcomes and investigations in the spotlight, suddenly people are acting stunned. Like this all came out of nowhere. But Jaguar says she was sounding the alarm the entire time. She even said everybody knew about those parties, everybody knew. And from her point of view, the real question isn't what happened, it's why now? Why is Diddy the one facing consequences at this specific moment? Jaguar compares it to past industry downfalls, saying the business decides who gets exposed and when. In her eyes, it's not about justice, it's about control and timing. That's a heavy statement, and she didn't stop there. She went even further and set the internet on fire with one claim. According to Jaguar, Jay-Z is next. She says she already knows who she believes will be targeted next, and she's done holding back. So where does that leave things now? Jaguar says she's ready to release more names, more footage, and more information that never made it into Netflix's version of the story. She says she's done staying quiet while powerful people protect each other and others get ignored. And let's be real. Once one person breaks the silence, it usually opens the door for others to speak up too. The documentary might be topping charts and dominating conversations right now, but Jaguar insists what we've seen so far is only the surface. She says the real reckoning hasn't even started yet. If this documentary was meant to be the full story, why are so many key figures barely there or missing completely? Why was Jay-Z mentioned so briefly despite decades of closeness? Why was alleged footage involving Justin Bieber reportedly left out? And why did Clive Davis, a major stakeholder in Bad Boy, receive such limited screen time? And the biggest question of all, why does Jaguar believe 50 Cent has his own agenda that has nothing to do with helping people affected? Now I want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Jaguar is making solid points, or do you think she's pushing it too far? Do you believe 50 Cent's intentions were genuine, or do you think there's more going on behind the scenes? Make sure you like this video, share it with someone who's been following this story, and subscribe to DripDish for more deep dives like this. I read every comment, so speak your mind, and I'll see you in the next one.